Hi everybody,
Hi everyone.
welcome to episode 4 of Healthy at Home, featuring, you guessed it, the shoulder.
Yeah, just full disclosure here, guys. I have shoulder pain too, so this is going to be a very familiar topic for us.
It's near and dear to his heart.
Yeah, so hopefully we can all get along on this one. I feel empathy for you. And hopefully you're all outside on this beautiful sunny day getting some vitamin D around the house. It feels like a real touch of spring today, so it's great. And just to let you know, if you guys have any topics that you would like us to talk about or any issues in your body that are giving you pain, we'd be happy to make them part of the little seminar series here for you. Because eventually we're going to run out of body parts. So we'd want to make sure you feel well at home, okay?
And thank you so much to everybody who has provided us with feedback and emails and comments and suggestions. We really appreciate your feedback and your interest. And certainly welcome your thoughts and any other ideas you might have to help you.
Yeah, we're here to help in many ways too, okay, guys? We can provide virtual care now through gravenhurstchiropractic.com, where we can go online with you through our new platform with Jane app. And we can talk about and diagnose your problem online now. And we can come up with treatment strategies for you at home and then rehab exercises to make you feel better. Okay, so everybody's into that now. Your medical doctor, I know the physical therapists are doing it, and now the College of Chiropractors has granted us the right, which is pretty important. But if you have urgent care needs or any acute pain, please call the clinic, and we'd be happy to see you in a safe environment here in the clinic.
That's right. So we're just waiting for a few more people to hop on before we begin. And then we'll get started discussing about the shoulder. Just to give you guys a little bit of background information, Dr. Mike and I took several courses on the shoulder a few years ago from a world-renowned shoulder guru, as we call him, Dr. Dale Buchberger, and he is a chiropractor to many of the professional American athletes, and he provided so much great information over a course of several sessions, and it's that information that we often use when we're helping people with their shoulder pain. So today, a lot of the exercises and information and stretches that we show are all based on scientific evidence and also based on his research that he's compiled over the years that we're now giving to you. So to begin, the shoulder, as many of you already know, the shoulder is a very unique type of joint. It's made up of 3 bones. It's made up of your clavicle, it's made up of your shoulder blade or your scapula, and your long bone, which is called your humerus. Now, it's a very unique ball and socket joint, much like the hip, but less protected, of course, and subjected to a lot of postural stress and probably trauma. In fact, it's the most complex joint of the whole body. And not only because it's got these 3 bones, but because it's got many muscles, ligaments, tendons, cartilage, nerves, all working in one small area to induce many planes of movement with the shoulder. Unlike the elbow that we talked about last week, where that's a hinged joint and is very limited in its movement, the shoulder, being a ball and socket, has many, many directions of movement, which makes it fun, but also makes it very prone to injury. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about the shoulder muscles. So a lot of people call it the rotator cuff. So there's 4 muscles that hold those 3 bones together. One is the supraspinatus, the other one's the infraspinatus, the third is the teres minor, and the fourth is the subscapularis. Now, I'm not going to get into detail what these muscles are and what they do, but those 4 muscles hold those 3 bones together and provide rotation. Hence the rotator cuff. A cuff that has rotation so you can move the arm around.
That's right. So we develop a lot of problems with this rotator cuff, and that's probably the biggest and the most common injury that we see in our clinic. Yes, overhead athletes, they get a lot of shoulder injuries, the ball players, the bench pressers, the swimmers, but the people that we see most in our clinic, it's because of one thing, and it's usually because of postural alterations, poor posture.
Sitting in front of the laptop all day, playing with the remote control on the TV, texting. So everything happens in front of us.
Yeah.
And as those shoulders rotate forward, we end up pinching the supraspinatus tendon between that collarbone and the long bone called the humerus.
This results in something called impingement syndrome.
So it's probably the most common condition that we see, and it's pretty much an everyday condition that comes in the non-athlete population.
That's right. Another common problem in the rotator cuff world that we often hear about and see is a rotator cuff tear. And some of you may already be very intimately connected to your rotator cuff tears. They happen actually very easily, and the most common method of injury for the rotator cuff to tear is actually a fall on an outstretched hand. And in many people, this will result in a small tear in the rotator cuff muscle. So that's the first and probably the most common type of injury. As a side note, fun fact, 70% of people in this world will experience shoulder pain at some point in their life, and half of those people will carry the shoulder pain with them for at least a year long, which makes our jobs very busy in terms of trying to help everybody with the shoulder pain. So the rotator cuff is the first problematic area that we deal with. The second area that's a very common injury point is actually the tip of the shoulder. And the tip of the shoulder, as you might see in the diagram right here, is called your AC joint. And your AC joint is the acromioclavicular joint. And that is a joint that gets damaged and traumatized when you fall and land square on your shoulder. So if you fall on your side, if you're outside in the winter on the ice, and you fall this way, and you contact the ground or the snowbank this way, and you drive that bone here, this is when you're going to get an AC joint problem. It's also probably one of the most common spots in the shoulder to develop arthritis. It's another point of pain. Another common area that we see a lot that gives people a problem is a problem with the ligaments. Now, ligaments are usually meant to support a joint. They're supposed to, in the shoulder, keep the ball and the socket joint together. Now, in some people, those ligaments are very lax, which creates shoulder instability, which will lead to shoulder pain and dysfunction. In other people, the shoulder ligaments become too tight, in which case it tightens the capsule, and you end up, as some of you may know very well, frozen shoulder. And that's when you have very little range of motion at all. So whether you have frozen shoulder, or you have a rotator cuff tear, or you have alterations in your posture that are creating chronic impingement, these are things that we see in our practice all the time and something that we can help you with. If you were in the clinic, of course, we would be doing things like shockwave therapy to help kind of stimulate the tendon healing underneath these areas. We would do acupuncture to derive blood flow and help with the nerves in that area. Chiropractic adjustments are very helpful to help support the mechanics of the spine and everything surrounding the shoulder. We would do things like rock tape, and you can see the rock tape here. This is a good short-term measure. It helps to lift the skin from the underlying fascia and promote healing. And then more of a long-term measure, many of you may already be familiar with the Posture Pro. The Posture Medic, or Posture Pro as it's called, is a device, very lightweight device that's worn more for long-term use, but what you want to do is help stabilize and retrain your muscles to give you that proper support and balance.
Yeah, the important thing here is that we actually use our own body to help support that shoulder and create proper alignment, so we don't get those things like impingement and arthritis of the AC joint or acromioclavicular joint. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over some home exercises that you guys can do to help with your shoulder pain, or exercises to prevent shoulder problems. So we're going to do some stretching and some strengthening, so you guys can also do these at home to make yourself feel well, okay?
And keep in mind that these are just general exercises that we've compiled for you. They're not, of course, meant to help every condition of every shoulder. So certainly if you have concerns specifically about your condition, do let us know so that we can properly customize them to you.
Yeah, just as a preface, this is not for acute pain or acute injury. This is just wellness conditioning for your back and your shoulder.
Okay, so to begin, we are going to start with some basic stretching.
Okay, so most times in the shoulder, we have a very tight pec muscle. We got a tight muscles in front of the shoulder, and these things cause our shoulders to curl in. A lot of times you'll see these bodybuilders work on their chest and arms, and they have this bodybuilder posture, okay? So you want to keep things opened up and stretched in the front. So we're going to do some door stretches first. So the first exercise would be to find a door jamb. Put your hand in line with your head. Turn your body straight, and we're just going to stretch that pectoral muscle and deltoid in the front. And we're going to hold it for 30 seconds, and we're going to do it 3 times. Breathing and relaxing so that we actually get to stretch. If we're contracting and tightening up to get a pull, we're actually tightening things and not stretching. Okay? Important is that even if you have shoulder pain on the left or the right, you want to do both shoulders because you want to make sure the alignment on both sides of the body is equal. So even though we have one shoulder problem, we want to do both shoulders. So again, stretching in the doorway where it's comfortable, holding it for 30 seconds, doing it 3 times. Okay? The other thing we want to do, like Kelly mentioned in that frozen shoulder population, is we want to stretch that socket in that capsule, okay? So this is called the pendulum exercise. Almost everybody's seen this exercise. We just take a water bottle or a 2-pound weight. We just lean our head over a table or a chair, and we're just taking that shoulder and we're doing a slow rotation, okay? And we're just letting that bottle kind of act like a pendulum, just to create 30 or 40 rotations to stretch the socket here and just create some mobilization there, okay? So clockwise, counterclockwise. And again, we're doing it on both shoulders, okay? And this is Kelly's favorite exercise.
My favorite standing
The
three-way.
standing three-way. So what we want to do here is now we want to start to strengthen the muscles that are weak back here. These are called the rhomboids, or the muscles between the shoulder blades, okay? And we want to strengthen them so we can get out of this posture and get into a more upright posture where there's proper alignment. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the standing three-way. So we drop the shoulders down, we tighten up those shoulder blades together, and we come up to the I. Then we come down, we go into the V, and then we come down, and we go into the T. And then we come down. So what's really important here is that you maintain those tight shoulder blades, and as you come down, those shoulder blades stay tight together. You're activating those rhomboid muscles. And you're going into the V, and you're going into the T. Now that's important because if you have impingement or pain on the front of the shoulder, if we lose that posture and we do it like this, we're going to get pain. So we want to open up, we want to drop those shoulders down, tighten the back muscles, and we want to do that series of exercises where the wing bones are tight and strengthening the rhomboids.
That's right. You want to imagine
Okay.
almost like a pencil between your shoulder blades.
Right.
Now there's a couple other exercises that we like to help with this particular part of the body. And one of them is a seated row, which I'm sure many of you, I've mentioned this to over the years. I'm using the TheraBand CLX because they have already woven in loops, which makes handling and pulling on these much easier than just wrapping them around your wrists. So what I do is I put my hands through the loops and I set my shoulder blades back. So I'm kind of setting it, squeezing the shoulder blades, and I'm pulling in, holding for a moment, and relaxing. You can notice that my elbows are right dragging in beside my body. They're not out here. So you're engaging the right muscles, and I'm not swaying to and fro. So everything is staying upright. For those of you who have exercise equipment at home, maybe you have an exercise or rowing machine, you can also do something similar to this, but having a band is another handy tool.
What's important here, guys, is that you can see what we're doing here. We're stretching the front of the shoulder and the pec muscle in the front of the body because that's what gets tight, leading to the rolled shoulder. And with the exercises or strengthening, we're trying to strengthen these back muscles. We're strengthening those muscles between the shoulder blades, and those are the ones that pull those muscles back or pull the shoulders back to create the proper alignment so we don't get the impingement. So it's also very key that we maintain a nice upright posture. We don't lunge forward so we don't hurt the low back.
That's right. Now the other exercise that I'm going to show is actually one for a lot of shoulder issues, but specifically for frozen shoulder. So what you want to do is get a rolled up tea towel, small one, and you're going to put it right underneath your arm and give it a good squeeze. And by doing that, that's going to create a gap in that capsule that we're trying to mobilize. So you're going to have one leg up on the edge of the bed perhaps. I just have a small water bottle. You don't need a heavy weight. And what you're going to do is you're going to stabilize yourself, set your shoulder blade again, and you're going to simply extend that arm behind you. We mentioned this exercise in our last segment with the pouring of the water. The only difference to really target that capsule for frozen shoulder is that tea towel underneath the arm. So you're going to give it a little squeeze at the top so you feel this muscle engaging right here, pulling on that capsule, which is what we want, and back down. So you want to do about 12 to 15 of those, two sets, and feel free to do them both sides. It never hurts to keep a balance.
That's important. You got to remember, guys, when we did the courses with Dr. Bookberger, and he worked with some of the major league teams, and he was playing with the Toronto Blue Jays pitching staff. He never used weights that are more than 2 to 5 pounds to rehab the shoulder. You need very light weights to help the shoulder. You see a lot of guys in the gym with 30, 40, 50-pound weights. Well, they're just waiting for their injury to happen down the road, okay?
Yes, so hopefully that helps everybody, and we look forward to connecting with you again next week as we go up the body into the neck area. And a big shout out to all of our watchers. I saw you watching, and Bob, Sharon, and Jim, and Carol, and Julie, and Ellen, and everybody, and Sherry. So thank you very much for tuning in on this Monday evening. And we look forward to working with you. Feel free to give us a call or reach out to us by email if you have any particular customized questions.
Yeah, and if you need to contact us through gravenhurstchiropractic.com for a virtual consultation, we'd be happy to help you through these exercises at home. Or if you need urgent care, we're here at the clinic to help.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great week.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.